I represent Ukraine. The basis of Christianity of full Eastern Europe. The baptization of the whole nation happened more than 1,000 years, and with Christianity to these lands came enlightenment, civilization, and higher level of culture. I want to draw your attention to the fact that Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, was based by the according to the legend was founded by Andrew the Apostle, and not every capital can boast such a legend in its foundation. Historically, Kiev used to be called the Third Jerusalem. The architecture and philosophy of the city was aimed at inviting Jesus to come to our land. Today, according to Constitution, Ukraine is a secular country where religion is separated nominally from the state. We live with this practice for a long time until we received our Henry VIII in the face of current president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, who recently tries to create a new state Orthodox Church. That is officially promoted by many TV channels. A lot of was said today during the conference about double standards of journalists. Unfortunately, that is a problem that is attributed to our country as well. What is not in the interest of the government is either not covered at all or covered under an angel that many people can't understand what it's really all about. Just recently, our church that has more than 1,000 years of history, they started artificially to divide into a correct church and incorrect church. Those who share the radical nationalist views, the clergymen that share the radical nationalist Russophobic views are proper Christians. Those who stick to religious canons, they openly call the wrong and incorrect clergymen and supporters of the foreign enemies of our country. That's how they are labeled. With the use of administrative and political resource, with the help of radical political groups in our country that openly, many of them openly profess Slavic and Scandinavian paganism. That in the 21st century in Europe looks a bit strange, but many of these far-right groups really stick to this paganism. Using all these instruments mentioned by me, the state tries to bring all the they try to create a church artificially, making people flock to this new state church. They use surely a stick and carrot, but it is done against the Christian values and Christian principles. Why I want to draw your attention to this issue in our country? Because with these actions like this, the rights and freedoms of millions of Christians, of Orthodox Christians in Ukraine, are artificially limited. Those Christians, they were far away from politics. They just were willing to worship freely and to abide by the Christian values and principles. They didn't want to get into politics, but they are now dragged into it by government. But to this set of standard Christian values, the government tries to add one additional condition that has nothing to do with Christianity, is to share radical Ukrainian nationalist views. That for me, as a person who of multi-ethnic origin, is unacceptable and unfair. What I told you was reflected in the report of the State Department of the United States, where the issue went about the religious freedoms in Ukraine and suppression of religious freedoms. In the section dedicated to Ukraine, it was openly stated that that in Ukraine the state tries to meddle in church and religious affairs, and to exactly instruct how to properly worship and which church to attend. That's exactly what you mentioned, the problem that was in the United Kingdom many centuries ago. Over the last several years, 50 temples were captured and redistributed from the canonic Ukrainian Orthodox Church to this newly established Orthodox Church, with a full, with police keeping blind eye on it. More than 50 temples and churches were taken from one church and handed over to another church. There were about 100 examples of ruining temples in construction, churches in, let alone the prohibition of building of new churches. It's starting from the level of small village up to the big city. Unfortunately, exists a group radio of with deliberately prepared representatives of the mass media try to tell what is right, and that is the European values, moving Ukraine ahead to Europe. With propaganda like this, they try to puzzle the society and the international community. To sum up, I'd like to say that religious situation in Ukraine is far from ideal. Also, the government states the opposite. I am very grateful to the organizers of this event to give me the floor to tell the European community, international community, what is going on in fact, not to keep mum about this problem, and with new knowledge to promote this, to draw attention to the challenge to Christianity, among others problems that I heard about today. I want to express my gratitude again to the organizers of this event, and thank you for your attention.